Definitely prioritize the first three chapters. The last chapter, the tissue chapter, I'll take mighty little from, since we'll just tackle that, and then
Mhm.
I want to show you where I think you should go. See here, this is no, you have all these tabs open as well, but this is the lecture test one review. Have you seen that one, or that's where it's at? And then the first tab is a review. Have you been there before?
No, not yet.
That's important one to go to. I've always tried to point it out as many times as I can, because in here, look what you got. You got all the necessary knowledge in bullet points. And so everything that's written here is, if you know that, and it's not just what to know, the whole thing it says, cardiovascular system, the heart pumps blood through the vessels, transporting oxygen, etc. That's the knowledge that you need to know for the test. And so I have all of those listed out and spelled out, and then I PDF'd it here, and you can print it out. And so also make sure when it comes then to test two, I just opened the module for tests two, the lecture test, that is, and it also has a very detailed test review. And if you actually get that early and start that or print that out while you go through the material, you know what I really want exactly for the test. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And so, and then the test is open book, and so in that respect, you you can use this test review together with whatever notes you have, or screenshots, or visuals, or so, to then take the test.
all right.
So you don't have to I wanted to, it's like a last go around of the material kind of thing. You only get a one time shot, not like with the questions and with every other assignment that I do, where if you only, for example, I want to make sure I mention that every time too. If you're in a discussion, you only get 5 points or partial points because you haven't replied yet. The thing is yet, and then I go through it again after you reply, and give you the points. And so it's not a one shot deal with my stuff. It's the same with the questions. You can take it multiple times and get the credit that's the highest score. And that way you can use it to sort of massage the material into your brain, and work the material, versus just, everything is like, uh, like knowledge, not knowledge based kind of thing. um, and the discussions make sure I do not get a text or an email or anything when you reply. So I go through it periodically. So it might lag behind a little, a few days or so. But if you feel you want me to give you credit right away, just shoot me a pronto or shoot me an email secondarily. The email usually maybe takes a little longer, but the pronto I guess get as a text, and as soon as I can, I adjudicate the score, if I can go in. But that's sort of how my system works with that. I just wanted to mention that while I'm remembering it. Does that make sense, Ronald?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If that was a question, I don't know if that was. So then, the other thing is the health challenge. Just I want to just finishing up what you're doing. Many of you are probably on the finishing line, and then next week we have an upload on that, and then we're uploading the tracker. We're not having anything on that this week. Just keep doing what you're doing with that. But what we're doing
Yeah.
now. Oh, go ahead.
I have sometimes been doing it. I just forget to say I did it in Pronto.
Why is this not open? What's wrong with this? Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
I have been doing what do we call it, the health one, the week one. There's some days I I just completely forgot about like saying I did it in
Yeah,
Pronto.
yeah,
Is that
no, yeah. Don't worry about that. That's why it's it gets a little nuisancey too. It's a hard one for me to judge how much feedback. I try. That's why for myself I have a tracker. Whenever you guys do it, I do something too, and this time it's drinking water. And so it's the same. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, what did I drink again? You know? So but it's more or less. You do more of that, and then we can reflect on that. So you're doing fine. You're doing fine. I just realized this was not open. So we always open the Friday before, but this seemed like the module was open, but the things weren't open. So now it's open. So this week we're gonna start. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have any other question or comments to it? I just cut you off.
No, 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 no.
Okay. This week, because now we're finishing up the small stuff that we can't really, see with the eyes. Well, the tissues we can. We're getting into the different types of tissues we did, and now we're going into the bone and into the muscle tissues. Um, and of course bone's connective, but muscle is its own. But we're going to learn about all the different parts of the movement apparatus, and that's a pretty vast part of the whole anatomy thing, because you got a lot of bones and a lot of muscles that help us ambulate and sit and posture and be in this world of gravity. And this week we're going to start with the skull and with the facial muscles. And what we do with getting this, this material is now a little bit different in terms of we're pointing at things and have parts of the body and describe what they're called, and describe different parts of the bony part, for example, here what they're called. And so in a skeletal, like in a skull, for example, I have this is, for example, the parietal bone that you can see here. Can you see that I'm pointing it out?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, good. Let me make sure it's big enough. Yeah, it's more or less big. um and 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 on that parietal bone, you then have different landmarks, such as like a temporal line, like this one right here is a temporal line. There's actually two of them. I just make you study one or outline one, because then on this line, what we have attached to is a muscle. And if you can see here, when I don't touch the volume, right here, there is a reddish type thing. That's a muscle that's attached to the bone, and that muscle is then called the temporalis muscle, and that goes often with the name of the landmark where it attaches to. Muscles generally attach to bone, and then move those bones around, and so the temporalis muscle attaches, then goes from about here and goes down and attaches to the lower jaw and helps close the jaw when we chew. So that's actually going to be a chewing muscle. And so when I look at the skeletal features that I want you to study in the lecture portion, but also the lab is fairly similar with that. I'm looking for mostly things where muscles attach to. In terms of those things, so it sort of makes sense as we go through it. And well, the facial muscles are different. The facial muscles don't attach to bones; they attach to the skin a lot, because they make the skin move, so we can have facial expressions. But if you think of muscle tissue or what muscle generally just shortens the two end it's attaching to. And is that skin, we can smile when this muscle contracts up here, or if it's the arm moving the elbow joint, then we have it shorten and then move that part around in the body, on the body. And so that's sort of when you think about muscles, and then it's like a marionette, and you figure out where they're attaching, and then you can figure out what they're doing. And so that's how then, where for me, as I'm a chiropractor and a biomechanical kind of guy, for me that's of course where I get really nerdy and interested in all of that. And so you're going to watch these videos, and then after the videos, we have the regular setup with the questions. Has that been helpful, doing those questionnaires? That way of learning it for you?
The
Like
questions.
videos and then questions on it? Or is that
Uh,
not really your style?
the ones with the little rocket ship on it.
Yes, these when you watch the videos and then you do the questions on it.
Yeah, I think that one helped.
That one is pretty all right. Okay, cool. Have you been watching the videos in those questionnaires, or have you been just kind of doing it?
I just look at the videos.
You look at the
Uh,
videos.
yeah,
Yeah. Do you? Yeah. That I think that's kind of good that those are up, right? Or is it kind of not making too much sense? Those. Well, I guess they do if you look at the videos. So that's good. So you've been enjoying working in that way, the quizzes or the questionnaires.
I think they're working for now.
That's good. That's good.
I haven't had much issue.
Good. Yeah, for a long time I didn't put those videos up, and then at some point I'm like, why not? It kind of helps. And so what we then do is in this section where we have terminology, a lot of labels, a lot of what is this called, what is that called. And so what I created is for the lecture portion, I created these lists, these term lists, these terms, and these are all the terms. These bones here are the bones, and then underneath, set in a little bit, are the landmarks on those bones, like we had the parietal bone, and I don't even have you learn that term superior the temporal line. I outlined that in the lecture, so hope take notes of the lecture, and then in the terms I do the most important terms that I feel like I want you to know, to get you sort of a decent understanding of these bones and how the body's created and made, and or what is its parts are called and stuff like that. And so then what you do is you take this term list, and you go annotate. And let me see, I might need to do the student view that I can see in terms of annotating. So you're either going here and printing out this picture, and on this picture or these pictures, and on these pictures as well as you can, you label and ignore these labels. I haven't been able to take these out yet. I got to find some AI who's going to take these things out for me, and label all the terms that I'm asking you of that are on this list, this term list. And above
Okay.
here, you got videos to show you what's the term called. These videos basically are like, this is called this is called that, this is called that. And
So only the left picture, like the one showing the side of the skull.
no, you label these terms, all these terms on one of the pictures, one time. Where's my?
Okay.
Because I can annotate too. See,
So
you can actually annotate it in here with a pencil or with whatever the mouse. Although the
so
mouse
I
is weird.
just so I use that specific image, or
You use that image, is a good image, but then when it comes to something that the skull shaved off, once you watch the lecture, you kind of know these parts how to look at. This is a part where you look from above down, and the skull's shaved off. And so you see inside
okay.
structures. So some structures you want to label on here. Ignore these lines, because that's just these pictures I figured all the over time. I got them from Google and stuff. And
So this
some
those
drawings. And so just
those first two lines, ignore them.
yeah, all of them, all the lines. Ignore all the lines.
Okay.
Those labelings are not the labelings you need to use. Just use your own labeling, and when you find the structures, and you only have to label the structure on the list one time, because I also have some
Okay.
from underneath. This is a picture from underneath. See, you can see here, these are the teeth, the upper teeth. And so a couple of
Okay.
things are like nicely seen here, like this hole has a name, foramen magnum, or these the condyles, occipital condyles, they have names, so that some of the structures are only visible from below. And then this is a picture from the front, and some things are nicely seen here, like the bone here is nicely seen here, for example, the maxilla. And then, but only one time you have to label what's on the list. And then what you do is you take a coloring, pencil, whatever. If you do it annotation on an iPad or so, you have, you can do colors from the pencil kind of thing. But that connection between labeling it and having that word in your mind, and then spending a little time with some color, it seems to neurologically help solidify the information better. in our brain, and so that's
All
a
right.
process of learning it to hopefully then it's easier to then remember these terms. And then when you go to lab, you have this the three-dimensional way of tactile experience as well, and then that will it'll be good. That'll hopefully make it so you really remember it, and it's not just a brain study where you sit over a book. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Good. And yeah, you can print it out. You can do multiple things. Some parties once I had a guy, he made videos of the whole thing. I mean, you don't have to go that far, but if you make flashcards of these things, you can upload the flashcards if you want. You don't have to upload my pictures that I presented. You just have to have visuals with all the terms indicated, and I can make out what's what, and then I give you credit. So you can be creative if you have your own style of doing things like that. That makes sense.
Okay.
And you don't have to. I mean, I don't want you to put it up, but some of us, know and learn how to study. I need to study with projects. That's by the way how this class got created. But and we talked about the test review. So use the review for the test, and everybody who's taking the test so far looking mighty good. So we're doing fine. Uh, And then the other thing, the last thing on my end this week that we have is a little discussion on the cell model. Just to like, hey, did you like that? No, that was boring, but it really helped me remember these parts better, or something like that. Whatever you feel like it was doing for you, and what your experience was like about that cell model.
For that cell model, by the way, it doesn't have to be like a model. Could it be like a drawing on a piece of paper?
I would like to have the kinesthetic component with it, if you can, but I can be very flexible of what represents what. And then the list, and then make a ledger of what it is, and then a little description of what that structure does. But if you draw me a couple of them, that's fine, but not all of them. Like
Okay.
do a little bit of three-dimensional integration thinking with this. It's about that. It's about the spatial thinking with it in terms of the learning
Okay.
process. So if it's like, oh, I can't, but you find a battery somewhere for a mitochondria, and you find somehow to make but if you need to like make the cell membrane, you draw it on a paper and then put the stuff in. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Or the cytosol, the part, the liquid behind it where things are sitting in. So that's totally fine. All right, cool.
All right.
Thanks for that question though. And sorry, I just couldn't just let you off the hook. I had to think about that for a moment. And then we finish out the week just with a Q and question and tips, and I'm working through them. Those are actually the hardest for me to grade. So please, if I don't give you credit, after, I don't know, a few days, text me. And if it's still not credit after we keep texting me, because sometimes I can't give you credit for these because you don't put your name in. And I write down, put your name in, but I understand you probably don't get a feedback that somebody texted you back because there's no account. And so make sure you go check in it if you didn't get credit to see if I said something, or if you did it and you didn't credit, just shoot me a text. Well, no, actually put it in a pallet, because I got to go double check and make sure and check everybody off, because everybody I check off gets a heart. And so on my end, I know who I checked off. So be diligent about that a little bit. I mean, we can go at the end too, but but you make sure you put your name into the post. Okay, and
I make sure to put my name's in the post.
you are. I know. I've noticed that. Absolutely, you're one of them. That is a lot of you guys are. We're getting more congruent, but I just hate for some missing the points when there is points, and 5 points still counts. Everything counts. That's part of this whole thing. And my points are like, you're fetching them, kind of. They're not like you get them or you don't get them. You can still get them later, even if the Padlet is late. I'm fine. Some of it, I know it's a little goofy, but we need to learn. One of the things in college, that's part of the dealio in life, in this kind of, we have to put in a lot of legwork, and some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't always make sense, but part of it is just also that. But I hope most of what I present to you makes sense and helps you integrate the information, and is not just empty stuff. All right. I think I'm good on my end. How does that sound with that muscle bone stuff? Do you get an idea at this point, Ronald?
Yeah, I got an idea.
Okay. Then I think we can call it quits if you're good. And for everybody else, if you have questions, just shoot me at Pronto or an email secondarily, or even a text with my number is everywhere, 510-387-2946, and we'll be all good. As long as you communicate, I know what's going on. All right. Have a good day. Peace. Thank you.
See ya.
Good Labor Day. Bye-bye.